Good day, everyone. So today, the last day of play-ins for Group B has concluded, and it was a long day. Many games, many interesting games, and upsets as well. So let's just get into it. So we started the day with LGD versus V3. LGD, after the 0-2 start, had to show us their progress, and the first game was a bit iffy. Objective control from LGD was not that good, but LongX showed why On is still very good. They had a good early game again, CS leads, triplets, even having some nice map control and rotation in the mid game, just like on day one. And again, in the mid game team fight, they lose Drake and 2 lives, but this time they keep their gold lead and not rush to their doom again and again. So they slow the game down, are able to get the next Drake with a larger item lead, have some really nice on gameplay, and on sort of strong. Like Zoe and an Ashe can't deal with an on in the mid game. And V3 had nothing who could kill the on, especially with his 2 upgraded tank items. LGD's draft is better in many aspects, but and a cool thing was Syndra being the only AP damage source on their team, really, which enables her to carry more. We talked about that a bit. It was really easy for them to team fight, and with the multiple threats, Kramer was able to deal more damage and had an easier job. So game 1 goes for LGD. It was quite convincingly, a few hiccups here and there, but was quite good. Then coming to a first upset, Rainbow 7 against Unicorns of Love. We see a Skarner counterpick against the Eve from Jose Deodo. Even some Wukong again. But Ace's Camille shows up, gets a strong CS lead in top lane. Even alone in the mid lane shows why Lucian is still a strong pick, and punishes the matchup hardly. And even with teams up with Jose Deodo, using their leads in mid and jungle to snowball it around the map. Overall, a strong, really early game for Rainbow 7, getting 8 plates and 2 turrets to none in 15 minutes. Even getting a 5-1 ace in the 16th minute. Overall a large control over the jungle and the map, enabling them to getting a 20-minute Baron, and then developing their gold lead. They are just running over UL with 14k gold lead, and even with a small hiccup in the end, Eve getting caught in bot lane, and then UL trying a Baron, but Rainbow 7 smashing them 4 versus 5, finishing the game afterwards. So that's a great upset, and UL is now not able to win the group on their own. PSG has to lose their matches, and UL has to win all of their matches for UL to be first without tiebreakers. But we're going to get into that later. So then we have PSG versus V3. We see more Kindred and Galio and even Sylas. So I'm keeping an eye on these picks. Sylas is not known as an early game jungler, so Kindred was quite effective, and that gave Uniboy and Kongia a strong 2v2 in the mid lane, which led to an early mid jungle difference and lead. So V3 tries to be active, has tried some plays, but they were misusing their tempo, and which made PSG able to counter, and was putting them highly ahead, and even Kongyu putting everything into Met, snowballing Uniboy further and further. even after some over chases and some slowing down of the game, giving the Renekton and Sylas some items even. Yeah, it's a really explosive game. We had like 15 kills in 16th minute. Yeah, but then the Kindred was going for an IE, so a crit Kindred build. Uniboy rushes a Morelos. Yeah, like he was the AP threat, but there was not that much healing in the game on the enemy team, so not a good item in this case, at least not now. And yeah, after a 20-minute dragon fight, in which V3 fought well, but at the end it was 5-0 ace even, because everyone from PSG limped away with a bit of health. Then they were able to get the dragon, the kills, the baron, getting a 10k gold lead, and which they snowballed to the end, giving them another win. Then the really hype matchup, UOL versus LGD. It's a really important match. If UOL wins, they would play a tiebreaker for first with PSG, and LGD had to play a tiebreaker versus V3 for fourth. And if LGD wins, PSG would be first, and V3 would be out. So we see more interesting picks, like we have to keep an eye on the meta, if play-in meta will continue into the groups, or if we will see a meta switch. So Sylas, Syndra, Voli, and Twitch being again prevalent picks. Also Peanut getting Lilia again, but UL has a strong draft with Syndra, Nidalee, and Twitch. Even though Sheer and Langex get solo kills in the early laning phase, which they were able to snowball for quite a while on cost of Peanut. LGD were then sponsoring Gadget, the AD carry from UL, right? This time an AD carry. He was playing Twitch, and damn, he was playing some nice Twitch. LGD was inting him a bit. So yeah, suddenly there was a level 11 2-level lead for 0-0 Twitch, and that's in the early game. So yeah, even though this was the case, the solo lanes were still doing fine for LGD, so gold was even in the 17th minute, but they had lead before that. So they were beginning to int it down a bit. And then it all came cracking down again at the dragon fight. UL and LGD were staring themselves down. Yeah, and UL won that fight, getting Infernal Soul Point. LGD then realized how bad, how much in the bad spot they are. They don't have split push. They don't have a good pick comp. They have way worse team fight, no real poke, siege. So we saw the detriment of their team comp without real abilities to utilize each other's strengths. They were really in a bad spot, not able to do anything of significant value here. And even after a perfect fight, where the 5-4 Twitch is picked off in the jungle, LGD gets aced. Twitch then gets 3 items, and then with a larger gold lead in a soul team fight, they secure the soul, Infernal Soul, I think it was, get an ace, Baron, have 7k gold lead. After 2 inhibs, LGD is able to get a 3-4-5 team fight, but then boss TPs into the base, like takes out the Nexus turrets, only 1 inhibs left standing. Yeah, it was all over. Even though LGD was getting some nice fights, World League was too prevalent, and the map pressure and objective control was always there for UL. With the Elder, they then push for the win, meaning they will play a tiebreaker game against PSG, and LGD would play a tiebreaker for V3. And that were the following games. So the winner of the first tiebreaker would be first. And yeah, we see some interesting stuff again. Ziggs mid for UL, and Lilia again left open. It seems they don't prioritize that pick enough, or maybe they just think they can play around it. Yeah, really a bad pick ban again for PSG. No real engage, just follow up. So like Rakan, he can engage, but he likes follow up more. Similar story for Lilia or Orianna. They want to follow up on engage with like their engage. They're not a Malphite old, right? So they're second tier engage, and that's especially difficult against the Ziggs and the Nazriel. And yeah, early mid action 3 versus 2 was getting UL ahead, able to give 5 plates on to Ziggs in the top lane after getting Herald. So Ziggs was really online, and in the 12th minute they had a 2.5k gold lead, 10 plates to 0, and 3k gold lead in the mid lane. The Ziggs was really online. And yeah, then we had some strange item build stuff like Renekton, Senna and Renekton buying Black Cleaver. Senna, she has Gangplank as their only AD teammate, and the enemy team doesn't really have that much armor. And the Renekton just again, like for an Ezreal AD carry buying a Black Cleaver, not much. He's not amplifying that much AD. And then, the enemy team also had no armor. UL has had great setups, like the TP Ezreal on the weak side, like either bot or top, and then like diving or pressuring the other side, having some really good cross play, with their Hecarim and Ziggs combos, like able to get turrets and kills. But after an overstep by UL in the bot lane, PSG was able to get tons of kills, and the shutdown goals, 6 kills, a Baron, closing the 7k gold lead to a 2k1, so 5k power play. And and then they ended that chain of kills and team fights by getting a Drake and denying UL the soul point. So it was the beginning of some sort of comeback, but this was still not denying the team comp disadvantages PSG had to push against. But then again, another team fight broke out, and Kaiwing and Konyu, who had kiting Anarchic and the rest of UL quite nicely, damaging them and not getting blown up, dodging skill shots. And then after all of the load was blown from UL, Uniboy was able to follow up with his damage, hitting nice shockwaves and following with Qs and auto attacks. A massive team fight in the 32nd minute ends in a 5-0 ace afterwards with a massive wombo combo. They were completely one-shotting them. GP ult, Rakan engage, Senna Oreo, PSG was able to crawl back into the game after UL overextended some two scenarios and were able to close the gold lab, and then in a one combo teamfight at the end, as I described just a second ago. It was a 5-0 ace, and PSG finishes straight through mid lane because the dev timers were way too high for Unicorns. And that means PSG becomes the first seed and gets directly into groups, more specifically into Group B, because of the other regions. This is assuming the other teams make it through, right? TL, LGD, and Mad Lions. If that's not the case, then they can be in Group B, C or D, not in Group A because of Machi. Yeah, UL is now the second, and they have to play either the third or the fourth of Group A. This will be determined tomorrow. Also, some interesting stuff to note: UL has lost as many games today as they lost the entire year. Additionally, Kongyu and Uniboy, the star players for PSG, will leave after today and will not continue to play. They were just loaned, and River and Tank, the main players of PSG, will be back in the roster. So this is something really interesting because Kongyu and Uniboy were the star players carrying most of the games for PSG. So River and Tank have some big steps to fill. Yeah, and it will be interesting to see if PSG will be better or worse with their main roster. Also, today was the day D left as his loan was timing out, and Unified was playing today for the first time at Worlds. He was doing fine. AD carry is not that important at the moment. So yeah, he was. It's hard to say if he was an upgrade over D or a downgrade. We haven't seen that much, but he was doing his job rather fine. And I think the coordination in the bot lane was a bit better. It was enabling Kaiwing to do more. So coming back to the last tiebreaker game, LGD versus V3. The loser is out of Worlds. Yeah, Peanut gets Graves, Mark gets Leona, Xie gets Orianna, and Langex gets a counter pick Jax into the pass Camille. And V3 has a really interesting draft. Like Boogie on Elise, Ace on set in mid, and a Sire AD carry. Archer is not a Sire main, so he has played 0 games on her this summer. And Elise was the only AP champ in their comp. A really strange draft, really dependent on early game snowball, and then even then LGD were still getting ahead. LGD goes for like a scaling team comp overall, and yeah, V3 has a little legs to stay on in the late game besides Xayah. So even in the early game, as I said, V3 was not getting the leads they need, and even lost a close fight at Herald, losing a kill and Herald. Then then later on, after aggressive face check from Mark in the jungle, like near the jungle river, LGD crushes V3, over punishing Mark in this case, getting 4 kills and the Drake, and yeah, taking that into account with their CS leads. They had a 4k gold lead as the scaling team. It looked really doom then, but V3 was getting some picks in here and there, especially on Xie, who was overextending after having a solid early game performance. This was slowing LGD down a bit, but they were still outscaling, and it was not enough for V3. They were still behind in gold. After the next dragon fight, LGD gets 4 for 1 in the trade, gets the Drake, and then pushes for for Baron, establishing a 10k gold lead. By the way, this dragon fight, I'm not sure if you have seen it, but this is like the epitome of this aggressive style. LGD was taking this dragon fight, even though they actually should not take it. What does this mean? There are 2 ways to play League of Legends. Either you play to your strengths or to the enemies. So yeah, LGD is the more scaling team comp, meaning they don't need early fights, they don't need early leads to win. It's the enemy team, especially if the enemy team is a early game team comp, so they need the kills on their champions to be relevant at this stage of the game. Meaning LGD should not set out to fight these fights, especially if it's a dragon they don't need, and the enemy team is not at soul point or anything. Additionally, a top lane wave was crashing into the inhibit turret, meaning Langex could have split push top lane with his Jax and getting the turret for free, maybe even the inhib, but not too sure about this one. So in the end, yeah, it turned out well, but LGD could have lost the team fight quite possibly. It's not very likely, right? But it could happen, and that's an unnecessary risk they took. It worked out well, but it could have been a real problem. As I said before, Shi was still getting picked out even in that team fight. He landed a 3-way shockwave, but this was because the enemies were piling onto him, killing him in the end as well. But Mark, Peanut, and Langex were stepping up after the early game, having a great game, especially Peanut. Yeah, as I said before, these was further inting with Morello Rush. Yeah, not making that much sense, honestly. And yeah, after a lost Baron again and the cleanup from LGD, they finished the game and eliminate V3. So the standing for Group B is PSG in first, followed by UL in second. Rainbow 7 and LGD occupy the third and the fourth seat, with V3 sadly eliminated. Honestly, this is a really shocker. Not only that LGD is in that spot, but also it's rather sad to see V3 go. If I remember, they won the game against Rainbow 7, but yeah, they weren't able to win other games, while Rainbow 7 was able to make upset wins against other teams, meaning V3, yeah, even though they were a really interesting team with their players being not that bad, this is a really disappointing finish for Japan overall. And yeah, but finishing that and getting into the MVPs, I'm not going over multiple MVP performances today, maybe just a bit. But yeah, top lane I have Langex. Top lane wasn't really that spectacular today, but Langex had a really nice Jax game, even showing some teamfight Jax, overstepping like 1 or 2 times, but overall like trading the lane very good. Jax is a counter into Camille, but only after a few levels and items, but he was still smashing her in the early game, so yeah, performing really well. And yeah, even in the other game he was doing his job. In the jungle and mid I have the duo of Kongyu and Uniboy. I was thinking about Anachik and Nomads, but yeah, they were losing 2 games today, and yeah, one was against Kongyu and Uniboy. And yeah, Nomads and Anachiks were a bit overly aggressive today, still performing well, but yeah. Additionally, today were the last games of Kongyu and Uniboy at this World Championship, so I want to highlight them a bit more. While we still get more games from the UL roster, these two, yeah, won't play anymore. If everything stays as Riot planted to stay. In the AD carry position, I have UL's Gadget. I was thinking about putting him there in the days before, but today his Twitch performance really went well, and even in the games they lost, it was still a solid performance. Additionally, other AD carries weren't really doing that much today. Archer and Kramer had some good games, but nothing way too spectacular. And Unified from PSG, it was okay. It was also decent. So Gadget was the only one with a real pop-off performances. This is why I give him the edge and put him on the MVP for today's AD carry position. In the support, similar story. Many supports were doing quite fine. For example, Santana's or Mark. But in the end, I have Kai Wing again, occupying this slot. He's doing really well. His roams with Kongyu and 3v3 mid lane or the 2v2 jungle sub invades are really good. Then his engages on Rakan, really solid. Really, like, more than solid, really great. And he's one of the reasons why PSG had such great team fights today. In the Wombo combo engage, it was his flash Rakan play. This started the Wombo combo. Yeah, so I will give him that spot. Yeah, so I'm happy to see him in group stage. Yeah, we have to wait a bit. I think it's like 7 days, 6 days, something like that. The overall MVP for today is Kongyu again. Even though you could make arguments for Uniboy and Kaiwing. I think if you are a piece of a great 2v2 in mid jungle or in jungle support, and also the way how he was facilitating his other leads to carry, I have to give him the spot for overall MVP. I think he's one of the most driving forces in PSG, pushing them to their wins, even though he hadn't that great pop-off performances today in comparison to the Echo games before. He was still doing a major part in his team's success. For honorable mentions, I could put there 2 names, but I decided for Nomans. Ananachek, also a really good player and probably deserving of this spot, but I liked Nomans' play. Yes, he was given the lead in the next game, but the way he put it around the map with his ultimate and his positioning, I liked that really much. And yeah, he's a really good player, and I think he's one of the key centerpieces of UL, which is a team that got second in their group, right? Just because they lost today, and their record was 1-2 for today. I'm not going to devalue everything they did. Second place is really solid. Yeah. So that wraps up today. Tomorrow we'll get into the final day of the playing group stage. Seeing some teams like INTZ, Legacy, Mad Lions, Supermassive, and Team Liquid battle it out for their respective places. And yeah, we will look into the teams in 3rd and 4th, seeing who will be matched up against Unicorns of Love potentially. So yeah, I wish you all a great day, and yeah, see you around tomorrow.